Hey, all you podcast listeners, you can find Slice of the Paranormal everywhere podcasts are found, or you can watch us on our YouTube channel.
Hey, hi, hello there. Welcome to another episode of this podcast, Slice of the Paranormal.
Slice of the Paranormal.
Yay.
And stuff like that. Wake up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
This is a podcast where we talk about all kinds of paranormal stuff, aliens, ghosts, werewolves, vampires, you
Swamp
name it.
things.
Witches.
Witches.
And today we're talking about what, Stephen?
We're talking about the hauntings of the Founding Fathers. So essentially, we went down to Philadelphia, and I took you guys on the typical tour, and what I want to do is, I think those tours are really boring for most people.
Yeah.
You just get inundated with like history and history and history. So this is going to be a way that people can go to Philadelphia and take that tour with their school, but
Have a little fun.
And instead of looking for Betsy Ross, they might be able to look for a ghost.
That's
ghost
awesome.
Cats and whatnot.
I love
And
it.
maybe also sample some pizza along the way.
Yeah, so we go to these places,
Sure.
right?
Right. So we also sample pizza and we review it at the end of our episode.
Right, we go to these
do
places,
that.
check them out, and then we check out a local pizza place.
Yep.
We did.
We did. And we'll talk about that later.
Thanks, Cup of Code, again, for everything you do for us.
Thanks to our
And-
sponsor, Cup of Code.
Yeah.
So, Philadelphia, Stephen took us there,
Wait,
and let
before
me tell
we
you.
get started, though, I
Oh.
want to just say we went to a Cryptid Fest last week. Steven and I did.
We did.
At Decades in Lancaster. We had a great time. Fortunately, Ryan was a little under the weather that day. And
A lot under the weather.
A lot under the weather that day, and was absolutely unable to.
Yeah, I was
join
looking
us
forward
that
to
day.
going, but I'm glad you
Yeah.
guys could go.
But we met up with our friends, Swartz Paranormal, and thank you guys for this awesome notebook. I used it that day quite often.
That's cool.
Took some notes. And also, I wanted to mention that we got a suggestion from a little girl there for the name of our ghost. And I kind of like it.
What is it?
What do you guys think? Cheesler.
I love that.
I like
Yeah.
Cheesler. I'm also a fan of just Booze, Booz.
B-O-O-Z.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, I like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of rough, man. I
Saying,
kind of like it.
he-
Booze.
He's kind of scary, but he's also getting a little tipsy.
I like it.
You know.
It's a mix of the two. Cheesler.
Cheesler.
Cheesler
That
So
was
it's like Rizzler.
Yeah, she was just the
Cheesler.
most adorable little 7-year-old girl. I think she was wearing like pink polka dots or something. And
that was
I
the little
asked
girl
her,
with the family of a whole bunch of little girls, right?
Yep. And I think they all got some stickers. And I asked, what do you guys think that we should name our ghost?
That's
And
awesome.
she's like, Cheesler.
Well, keep coming with suggestions. If you like that
Yeah.
one, or if you have another one, please let us know.
Yeah.
Comment on this video, comment on whatever.
And we also spoke to the Odd and Untold podcast for quite some time. He was awesome.
And he's based out of what, New York?
yeah, out
you
of
said?
Brooklyn, I think.
Out of Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, so he's got
Nice.
a great podcast. I checked it out the other night, and it was great. He talks about a lot of the same stuff we do, like cryptids, UFOs, paranormal. just
Perfect.
the wide range.
We're going to have to hit him up.
So, yeah, we're going to try and work together in the future. So thanks a lot,
I
and-
definitely think hitting up is going to be great because New York pizza.
yeah, he might have the
You know.
inside scoop on some New York pie.
Yeah, well, we'll have to hit up the traditional, Ray's Pizza. What
Right.
is it? But I'm sure
original Ray's.
the original Ray's,
Yeah.
not the one on blah blah blah
Yeah.
Street. I definitely think we should hit him up and
Get the inside.
get the inside loop on the good pizza in New York.
Yeah.
because it's all pretty good. But
Yeah.
Right, you can't go wrong.
No. And you know what's interesting too? So he's based out of New York, but he says that, and we talked about this for quite some time, that all of his videos that do the best online, that people are most interested in, is stuff that takes place in Pennsylvania.
Weird.
It's very weird. He's like, I don't know what it is. I can post something about,
He did say that.
all this other stuff in New York, and he'll do okay. And then I'll post something about Pennsylvania, and boom.
People like it.
Yeah, people like Pennsylvania.
We're proud. We're proud of
Yeah.
our weirdness here in PA.
So what we probably should do is not only visit him, but maybe in return have him visit us.
That's a
and
cool
we
idea,
could show
too.
him some Pennsylvania sites for him to do an episode on too.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So
We'll see what we can work out.
so
Future.
for future episodes.
All right, well, back to Philly, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and I love Philly. You guys know I lived in Philly for 2 years.
Which part?
I lived in Center City. I lived in
West Philadelphia?
no, I lived in what was called the Gay Ghetto. I lived at
ready for
13th,
that. Come on.
13th and Locust Street. So I was
Very
right
cool.
there.
The art district is what they call it, right?
Well, it was the art district until the University of the Arts closed down.
Oh.
And now the Avenue of the Arts has an identity crisis because the university
Don't know what to
was
do.
the Avenue of the Arts.
Gotcha.
So
So
now
it doesn't know what to identify as now.
no,
Oh, no.
who knows what it's going to be, you know?
TBD.
Yeah.
TBD. So I took you guys more into the old city part of the town. Okay, so
Yes, you definitely did.
I
It
was
was
like-
like tour guide city here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Steve did
yeah.
a great job.
yeah, I'm able to point out some things there. Now, when we first went there, the first thing I wanted you guys to hit up was the Betsy Ross House.
Yeah.
So
we got there pretty early,
we did.
and it was cold.
Was it
Was
cold?
it cold? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was
Philly?
cold.
Maybe. Well, we traveled to where our nation is birthed, or if
Birthed.
depending on how you feel, maybe crawled out of the primordial ooze in Philadelphia.
A couple hundred years ago.
And the plan was to explore the Independence National Historic Park through a creepy journey looking for ghosts. So I'm not looking for Ben Franklin. I'm not looking, well, I might look for Ben Franklin a little bit, but I'm not looking for the history on this trip. So
Okay.
this is not going to be a history-centric episode.
Okay.
So while the Muggles
TBD is what I say.
Oh yeah.
while the Muggles can read the didactics and the plaques, we're looking for ghosts and pizza. You can look for otherworldly specters while you're down there, because there's so much ghost in that little epicenter of a region.
There's a lot of ghostly activity.
Oh my God! Yeah,
In this area, that you
in
were
this
showing us.
area, maybe
Well,
it's
we only went over like a few blocks, right? It was only like a 5-6 block span.
It was like a 6-block span, and I'm only talking about a little bit of it. I could triple this.
right.
Oh,
you
yeah.
could spend all day.
I
there,
could
yeah.
spend all day saying, well, and this house is this house, you
Yeah.
know. But so we go to the Betsy Ross House first because that's when we had a time frame when it opened, when
Right.
we could get in. So the Betsy Ross House is at 239 Arch Street, and it's firmly in Old City, and it's outside of the confines of what's called
Old City. Sorry, you said that as if we were all from Philadelphia.
Old City. That's the oldest part of town.
Right.
So like Philadelphia starts closer to the water, you know, and then it keeps growing and growing, and now it seems to never end.
Is there a new city?
Well, not really.
Just
It's
that area is called Old City.
It's just called Old City.
Fair enough.
So we go to Betsy Ross's house. Now this house dates back to like 1740, and it's known as the birthplace of Old Glory.
Right.
Old Glory, the flag.
The flag, you know,
Yep.
because Betsy Ross famously sewed America's first flag.
Yeah, everyone's taught that in school, for sure.
That's the tale they're spinning.
yeah.
It is. Well, she did have a flag making and upholstery business in that building.
Yeah.
And in May of 1776, George Washington, Robert Morris, and George Ross commissioned
Ross.
her to do it. Now, the reason why she was commissioned was George Ross is Betsy Ross's husband's uncle.
Oh, uncle.
So she's, you know,
Uncle.
related to this guy. That's why she's known. That's why she gets the business. So he asked her supposedly to design the flag. Now, from this point forward,
Yeah.
this comes from her grandson. Like decades after
This
all
story.
happened. This
Oh, the
story.
recounting of this.
So, like,
okay.
her son is the one that propagates this idea that she's the first.
Okay.
She did make flags. That's a fact. Did she make the first one? Did she design the first one? Who knows? You know, I can't say that. No one can. But she gets the credit for what it's.
They're
Right.
going to give her credit.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to give her credit because, you know, everyone else has.
Why not?
So she lived in that house that we toured from 1776 to 1779. Her husband, John, died in the home, and the site was turned into a museum in the late 1800s, like 1898, by a guy named Charles Weisberger.
Turned it into a museum.
Turned it into a museum because he realized that Betsy Ross is an important person, And, you know,
this flag is important. This all part of our history.
Everything's part of our history.
Yep.
And he wants to preserve this.
Yeah.
So, Betsy Ross's ghost has been seen in that home at the foot of her bed crying. So,
Crying
Poor
ghost.
girl.
it could be because her husband John died in that home. Who knows? And a voice has been heard in the basement. We went into the basement, and in the basement, a voice is heard saying, "Pardon me."
Oh.
Now, that is not believed to be her. That's actually believed to be Charles Weisberger, the guy that
Who started the
museum. So it's a male voice in the basement
A male voice saying, "Pardon me."
saying, "Pardon me."
It's a polite
Really?
ghost.
It's
You
a
know what?
polite ghost.
I remember
Pardon
being
me.
in the basement, and I remember feeling very cozy.
Me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
It is cozy.
It was kind of cozy. I felt very comfortable in the basement,
It's
more
got
so than the rest of the house.
It's got that kitchenette area, and
Yeah.
that's oddly enough that you feel cozy because that's where she supposedly was actually making bullets for the American Revolution. Was
yeah,
down
I
there
felt very comfortable there. I
in-
don't
in
know.
the basement.
Well, pardon me.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any Grey Poupon?
Yeah. Pardon me.
now there are witnesses that have claimed that people have. Wait, let me go back a little bit. A girl named Rachel Costa who has been portraying Betsy Ross.
Yeah.
Okay,
Portraying her?
Yeah, she dresses up as her. She acts as her.
Oh,
as
okay.
like
What
like
year
a
are we
guy.
in?
This is more modern.
Okay.
Modern days. And she says she has witnessed various alarms being set off for no reason. Which any of these historic sites, they have alarms on all the doors.
At the Betsy Ross House.
At the Betsy Ross House.
Oh, okay.
So she says that there's all these alarms that keep going off. And her body's actually interred at the site, like outside of the Betsy Ross
Right.
House in the courtyard area. If you're facing the visitor center, she's going to be off to the left-hand side with her husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember I asked you, like, how do you get to be buried just in your backyard?
Well,
and you're like, well, I
church.
guess if you're rich enough, you can be
Well,
buried anywhere.
She actually, that's her third grave.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
She was first buried at the Free Quaker Burial Grounds on North 5th Street. And then in 1856, Ross and her husband, John Claypole, their bodies were moved to Mount Moriah Cemetery.
See, this is why ghostly activity. You move the body,
Right.
we always get ghostly activity.
Ghosts don't like that.
Right? That's a lot of stories.
So the year that she gets moved
Ghosts don't like that.
No.
to the Betsy Ross house is the year I was born, 1975. So she hasn't been at that site for very long.
Okay.
You know, and why would you move her in 1975? Because the bicentennial year was coming up.
Right.
So it was a PR thing.
Okay.
Let's move her body here. A lot of things
Talk about her.
were being rebuilt in 1975
Yeah.
for the 1976 celebration.
Sure.
Gotcha.
There's a place called the City Tavern, which we did not get to go to because the tavern no longer serves booze. So
We
didn't
weren't
go.
going
Because we
there.
didn't go.
But the City Tavern
Why
is
even
also
mention it?
haunted, but they rebuilt that for 1976 as well.
Okay.
So that's the first spot that we checked out.
Yeah.
She be haunting.
So what was your guys' impressions of the space? I mean,
Very typical of that time period, it felt like.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I always like just touching the stonework on buildings like that and just being like, just knowing that this stone was there all those years ago, touched by those people. To me, it's just kind of neat.
Built by those people. a lot
And I
of
just have a
times.
respect for that, and just even the energy, feel the energy in the place.
Now, before we move on to the next site, I do want to point out that the visitor center is the adjoining building. It's not
Whole
her
separate
house.
building, yeah.
There's actually a murder that happened there
Visitor center?
at the visitor center. There were
By Ben Franklin.
now security guards, I guess, are got into a fight and one shot the other one and killed him.
Dang!
Oh, wow. Like recently. Or-
Well, I think it was in the 70s, 80s, somewhere around there.
Okay.
But one security guard shot the other guy in the basement of the visitor center. So remember when we went down to the bathroom, we had to go down the steps to the basement?
I do.
It's somewhere down there. This is
Dang.
where the murder would have happened.
I didn't see no ghosts down there.
No.
So, but just went...
Just
you
add that on
Yeah.
there.
Have to
Tack
add
that
on a
one
little
on.
murder.
Glom that on here real quick.
So then we decide we're going to leave the Betsy Ross house and we're going to start walking towards...
Alcohol.
No, not yet.
not yet.
We're going to walk towards the Independence Mall area.
Yeah.
So the first building that we saw was the First Bank of the United States, which was at 3rd and Chestnut Street.
Right.
Now, the site is closed to the public, but it was the government's bank headquarters from 1799 to 1811. Alexander Hamilton was the treasurer secretary from 1789 to 1795, and in 1804, he's the guy that dies due to the famous duel with Aaron Burr.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Right.
so we've seen the Aaron Burr house. We've been to New Hope. His Alexander Hamilton's ghost, however, supposedly haunts this building. So if you can get into that building,
Haunt the bank.
you might be able to
Hamilton
find.
was on which bill?
He's on the $10 bill.
That sounds right.
I think that's right.
I'll trust that.
So
I thought it was the 3.
the $3 bill.
Right.
Now, I only brought this team to the site because we have checked out the sites in New Hope, where obviously we've checked out where Aaron Burr's
Right.
ghost is, which we liked a lot more because Aaron Burr at least has the decency to haunt a bar.
That's right.
Come on.
Smart guy.
You remember before when I asked you guys about the Aaron Burr peanut butter commercial?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, James, who has engraved our glasses for us, he actually said it was a Got Milk commercial.
Ah. it's from
So
Milk.
Alicia remembered it. James remembered
There you
it.
go.
Yeah, our trivia mates.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was actually a Got Milk commercial, but it's
It's still close
I do
enough.
remember.
yeah, all like the Aaron Burr artifacts on the wall, like the gun, the bullet, and yeah, it was funny.
That's awesome.
Cup of Code! Today's episode is brought to you by Cup O Code. Need a website or marketing solution that works as hard as you do? At Cup of Code, they don't just build websites, they create digital solutions that grow your business. From expert web design to targeted marketing, including Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, and billboards, they've got you covered. Dream, design, develop. Visit cupofcode.com and take your business to the next level.
So the next place we got is the Merchants Exchange Building, which is at 3rd and Walnut. Now, this building acted as the stock exchange for the country in 1832. The lobby's open to the public. The rest of the building is private offices.
It's a pretty cool building. I mean, it's fancy looking. It's like cylindrical.
All those buildings are impressive.
Now, here's the weird thing. This building isn't haunted.
Well-
So why the heck am I telling you about it? I know. It is the site of a residual haunting.
Okay.
Okay, and it's not even in the building, it's right outside the building. And the haunting, if you want to look it up, it's called Austen's Revenge. And in the 18th century, Jack Austen was a blind beggar who, panhandled around this building.
Okay.
And he was very fond of animals, so he would feed the horses of the carriages coming by apples and whatnot. So the animals loved Jack Austen, and he was well liked by the community.
Okay. Just a local
Local beggar.
good guy.
local good guy.
Now, a wealthy businessman named Harold Thorne had a horse that really liked Jack. So Jack would pet him, he'd give him apples, and this Harold guy was like a really stern guy, and one day he was having a really bad day. I guess he lost a lot of money this day.
There we go.
And the beggar stepped on Harold's foot, and in a fit of anger, he beat the beggar to death.
Wow.
Harold's horse
As
reared
one
up
does.
Yeah.
and kicked his owner, Harold, to death.
Oh, the
Because
horse got revenge.
The horse got revenge
Wow.
for Harold
and like
eating-
instant revenge.
He's like,
beating
don't-
Austen to death.
Nice.
And it said people.
I like that.
People say that you hear hoof
real
prints.
people we're talking about.
Yeah,
He just beat someone to death.
yeah.
But killed him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, I'm for
the beggar didn't deserve this.
I'm not disagreeing.
I'm just saying. The horse did the killing.
Right.
And this was how many hundreds of years ago?
It was in the around the 1840s, 50s, somewhere around
See,
there.
so over 100 years
It's
ago.
long enough.
But people not only hear hoofbeats at the site just before dawn, shadowy figures are seen across, and some people see the carriage
okay.
of Harold Thorne's carriage.
Okay.
Around that area.
Interesting.
So that scene is
haunting.
charged enough that it just replays.
It's like a residual
Yep.
haunting. Like they're not interacting with you.
Yeah.
But you might
You're not going to get any answers.
You might hear the hoofs of
Right.
the horse. You might see the carriage or the beating of a beggar. Although it's Philly, you might see a beating of the beggar any day.
Ghost beating.
Ghost beating.
Ghost
Maybe.
beating ghost beggar.
Now, right across the street from this non-haunted but residually haunted site, you have the Bishop White House. This is at 309 Walnut Street. Now, this is a site many park rangers call a spooky place. This has some pretty good lore to it. They report feelings of uneasiness, like when they're in the kitchen area. The house is believed to be haunted by Mrs. Boggs. And
Mrs. Boggs.
she was Bishop White's maid in 1790.
That's right.
People claim to see her ghost at the site.
What does she do? She's a maid.
She's a maid. She does
Maiden.
everything. Maiding,
Cleaning. Taking
pretty
care.
much.
Yep. That
Dressing
kind
in
of stuff.
fancy clothes. Now, Dr. Benjamin Rush, we talked about him on the Trent Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He was actually the next door neighbor to the Bishop White House.
Oh.
And his house is no longer there, so we can't talk about it. But also at the Bishop White House, you can sometimes see a cat in the window.
Okay.
Now, the weird thing is, they didn't have a cat. Dr. Benjamin Rush had a cat.
Interesting.
So the cat is seen in that general vicinity of Dr. Benjamin Rush's house, and more than likely visited Bishop White House as well.
And who was Bishop White? Why do we care about him?
He was a local bishop. He's a mover and shaker in the religious community in Philadelphia.
As all
Who's this
bishops
guy?
are.
Is this guy someone in particular?
No, that's just a toy that I, of course, just have laying around.
Yeah.
Right.
Never had a use for him, but now today
Colonial.
he can be here.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the Bishop White House. Now we're on to Carpenter's Hall.
I think I saw a picture of that somewhere in here.
That's at 325 Chestnut Street. The Carpenters Company was founded in 1724.
Ooh, it's pretty.
It's the oldest builders organization in the country. Part of Benjamin Franklin's library is actually on the second floor there.
Oh, that's cool.
The attic at one time was divided into apartments. So a lot of these builders that were part of this organization would rent the apartments on the third floor.
Okay.
So in 1789, one of its members, or two of its members, more than likely, were implicated in a bank robbery. Two men robbed the vault in the basement of more than $160,000 in 1789, which is quite a haul of
what's
cash.
the equivalent of that today, I wonder?
I don't know. I'd have to Google that.
How much was it?
$160,000 in 1789.
Wow. I'm going to guess $1 million? Close to $1
I
million?
bet it's close to $1 million. What's the take?
3.7 mil.
Whoa.
Okay, so that was
a significant amount of money.
It wasn't just petty theft.
Yeah.
Okay, so these guys were part of this builders organization. A man named Tom Cunningham also died in the apartments from yellow fever. So the haunting activity at Carpenter's Hall is people hear stomping in the hallways and on the staircases, and strange noises in the attic. In 1960...
I hear strange noises in my attic.
Do you? Is it haunted? Should we investigate?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
You have booze, we'll come.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're just building a new bar, man. Come over and see the new bar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely have booze then. So, when the police go there in the 1960s to check out these strange noises, they find no explanation. And the weirdest part about it is the site is also haunted by the rotten stench of death. Like rotting meat.
That's not a good haunt.
Yeah, I don't want to go to there.
No, you're like,
You guys
no.
smell that? That's like smells like death. Don't worry,
See,
that's
Brian and
just
I can handle
a
it.
ghost.
We'd be like, all right. We smell the scent of death.
Let's go get
Let's
some pizza.
go get some pizza.
Yeah.
You want pepperoni, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, no.
Someone that all three of us know used to really like the smell of roadkill.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. That's
I always thought it
disturbing.
was a little disgusting, but yeah.
Well, there were some people that liked the local factory Celotex.
Celotex, like chemical bread, it would smell like to me.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, we're all different.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of getting into the heart of Philadelphia. So we're getting to Library Hall, which is at 105 South 5th Street. This is the oldest subscription library in the United States, founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1743.
Found by B. Franklin himself.
B. Franklin. It contains the journals of the Lewis and Clark expedition and a copy of the Declaration of Independence.
Ooh.
The site has a statue of Benjamin Franklin on top of the door wearing a toga. His ghost is also regularly seen here. Now, this is the best ghost.
Oh, it does have him in a toga.
A cleaning lady. This happens, to give you a time frame, this is in 1880.
Okay.
A cleaning lady regularly saw his ghost walking around the place carrying books. And he'd be
In a toga?
No, just in regular
okay.
clothing.
Just
I'll get to
naked.
the toga part.
Okay.
But he's just carrying books room to room, and she would see him all the time. And,
I mean, that sounds like something Ben Franklin would do, right?
he's just reading.
Just
He's
carrying books.
Just carrying books. And he's like, one day, his ghost knocked her over while going from one room to the next.
Oh, wow.
So she lectured him on how a gentleman should treat a lady. And his ghost started walking away from her. And come on, if a woman's upset, don't walk away
That's
from her.
the worst thing you can
That's
do.
the worst thing you do. So she starts chasing his ass down
Yeah.
the hallway, and she's still berating his ghost.
Now, does she think it's a ghost at this
No,
point?
she already knows it's a ghost.
She's
She
seen it
knows
many
it's
times.
Ben Franklin.
She knows it's Ben Franklin. I mean, there's a statue of him on the building.
Okay.
And so she's berating him down the hall. And his ghost turns
That's
to
so
face her, and he bows in apology.
The ghost recognizes
the
it.
ghost recognizes her. So this is not a residual. This is a living haunting
Entity
or
type thing.
a real haunting.
What?
A living dead guy.
Now, after this encounter, the cleaning lady stays remaining working at this building.
Yeah.
And Benjamin Franklin's ghost starts avoiding her. Every room she's in, he refuses to be in the room that she's
I'm
in.
done with that.
He's like, I'm done with this
I
lady.
ain't putting up with her.
She's kind of bitchy. And she,
Wow.
she reported that she would randomly see him
The ghost avoided
peek
her.
around doorways to see if she was in a room.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So,
So
like,
ghosts aren't like omniscient or whatever. Like they
no,
they actually have to
it's,
see.
it's more like human nature. Like, if I had an argument with my wife,
That's
that'd be the same thing
hilarious.
I'd be
That is.
doing.
Ben Franklin's scared of this lady.
Well, yeah.
So he
she's-
like peeks around a corner to see if she's
yeah. So,
coast's clear.
Oh man.
okay, now you mentioned about the toga. Okay, there are lore that Benjamin Franklin's ghost is seen dancing around Philadelphia near the
Dancing.
Library Hall. And he's wearing a damn toga while dancing in the
Dancing,
streets.
wearing a toga.
So is
Sounds
it
like a ritual.
So is it a ghost or... Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Because he was a member of what, the Hellfire Club
Was he?
over
Yeah.
in England. He was.
Oh, wow.
Founder of it, wasn't he?
I don't know if he was the founder, but I know he attended Hellfire Club meetings in the caves.
Wow.
So who knows?
Yeah. See. All that stuff with Washington
Toga.
and stuff is.
Exactly. And why a toga? Like, I don't even know why they'd put him in a Greek toga.
You don't hear about togas very often during that time period.
No, I don't remember any of the founding. There's no paintings of founding fathers in togas.
Well, they're probably making a correlation of like the foundation of, like
a great
human
country, maybe.
Yeah, like Rome. You know what I mean? And the great thinkers of the world.
Yeah.
True.
Socrates.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the next spot on the journey also involves Ben
Socrates.
Franklin. The American Philosophical Society
Aristotle.
at 104 South 5th Street.
Which one is it?
American Philosophical Society.
I think that one has a horn.
Now, had we
associated
started
with it.
looking for the penis statues at this point?
Oh,
or
that's
not?
next.
Okay.
That's next.
There it is.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on your toes
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1743 to promote knowledge. It has a plaque at its entrance that says Judson Doland, 1860 to 1937, and according to employees, he's interred in the wall.
He's interred?
Yeah, he's buried in the wall.
Oh, thank you for...
Yeah, sorry.
there. I know. Every time he says it, like The child in me giggles a little bit.
He's in a turd?
He's in a turd, like T-U-R-D.
What did you do?
Did someone eat this guy?
What is
He's in a big turd.
How did that happen now?
Give me the full story, Steve. So
I will remember for next time, though. Interred.
Interred, yes. So I have no idea if this is true.
Okay.
But people see shadow figures and have even seen Benjamin Franklin also here.
Well, he haunts everywhere, so why wouldn't he be?
It's Philadelphia. Of course he
Yeah.
haunts everywhere.
He's dancing in a toga to the next place.
So, okay, Christy, let it slip. I have a weird side quest mission every time we go somewhere.
It's true.
And it's not that I'm looking for statues with just penises.
No,
That's not really the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to find statues that are poorly designed and appear to have a penis.
Right, from certain angles.
From certain angles. So,
for instance, like a scroll or a bayonet or
so like there's Commodore Barry's one. Mm-hmm. Commodore Barry.
And if you want it, check out the YouTube, or you can wait for the social media post here.
Yeah, we go to check out the Commodore Barry statue. I'm like, we got to check out Commodore Barry.
He's excited about this.
I am like more excited about anything this statue. And they're like, why? It's like, I was like, because from one angle.
If you look from the eastern side.
I'm like, it looks like his sword is actually a penis. So I had to get the picture. And I was even telling them, I was like, stand over here. Right here's the perfect penis
Yeah, we
shot.
all
This is the
proceeded to take pictures of this.
So we had to get a picture of Commodore Barry because he has a penis. But Philadelphia has the most famous penis statue in
there's another one.
There is. There's one of William Penn on top of City Hall. The other building I pointed out because now William Penn's holding a scroll.
This picture is ridiculous.
And he's like
I gotta look at it.
he's like 40 foot tall.
Yeah.
And he's holding a scroll. And I don't blame the artist that makes this statue because he didn't know it was going to go on top of a building. But I blame the photographers that are like, they're like, oh, yeah, you got to get a picture of William Penn.
This is the angle.
And every artist is like, I'm doing this angle right here.
One.
And almost every artist will take a drone up there and take a picture from this angle to get the most perverted version of the statue ever.
So this is true. This is a side quest that Stephen does when possible on our hunts.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll pass a statue, and he'll be like, "Oh, did it happen? Could you?" And we're like, "Sorry, Steve."
Now, don't be sending us, links to like Greek statues.
Oh,
if it's a real penis, we are not interested.
No, it's only.
It's got to be accidentally obscene.
Right. Exactly.
So we just
That's what makes it funny.
It's only funny if it's accidental.
Yep.
So anything.
But there was quite a few of them there.
There's so many.
Yeah, I'm sure that we could probably find 100 statues that are accidentally obscene in Philadelphia if we try harder. But that's like a whole day's worth of missions just on its own.
Yeah.
So the next story's kind of sad. This is a lost love story. The Curtis Publishing Building, which is at 170 South Independence Mall, in the eastern lobby has a mosaic titled Dream Garden. It's made of 10,000 pieces of glass, and it was made by the Tiffany and Company. In 1972, a security guard named Leon Thompson, any relation?
Oh, I'm sure I have a John Thompson. Or wait, Leon?
Leon Thompson of Philadelphia.
Leon sounds.
My great grandfather's Leroy.
Maybe he might be related. Now he works there, and he worked with a fellow worker named John. Now John had fallen in love with a girl named Sally. Sally worked across the road at the building across the street called the Penn Mutual Building.
Okay.
So John and Sally would meet at the Dream Garden. They met at the Dream Garden on October 14th.
What's that, like a park between
Well,
them?
I sent you a picture of the Dream Garden. It's like a mosaic area. It's maybe not.
I don't see it.
But it's in the Curtis Publishing Building, whatever. They actually, because that mosaic was where they met, they got engaged exactly a year later on October 14th at the same site.
Okay,
so
that's cute.
When they get engaged there, there's like lots of laughter and happiness, a lot of positive vibes.
Yeah.
So they decided to get married on October 14th on the second year, the next year.
Yeah.
They get married 2 years after first meeting, and they're going to honeymoon in Mexico.
Sounds good.
So they hop on aboard the plane, and they're on their way to Mexico. The plane wrecks, and they all die.
Oh,
Now, Leon.
nice ending.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
quick.
Well, Leon continues working at the site, and he knew John and Sally both. And he said on the anniversary of October 14th every year, while he worked there, he would hear Sally's laughter and the joy of getting engaged.
That's cute.
Replayed at the Dream Garden.
It is the city of love.
And I think it's aptly named because it's the Dream Garden that, they met there.
Brotherly love.
Yeah, it's the city of
What did I
brotherly
say?
love.
Just love.
Yeah,
Brotherly
city of love is Paris, I believe.
yeah. That's a cute story.
Oui, oui.
So
Also sad.
also a little sad. So
But at least they died together, and they probably went really quick, and it probably,
Yeah,
you know
they
what
did.
I mean?
I'm sure.
Didn't suffer too much, hopefully.
Let's hope so.
well, don't worry. The next story will be a little bit more cheerful.
Okay.
Oh.
So
I thought he was going to say, don't worry, the next story is going to have a little bit more suffering.
Yeah.
well, maybe.
Suffering and body sludge.
Face Monster!
This episode of Slice of the Paranormal is sponsored in part by Face Monster, creating apparel, accessories, and artwork influenced by 80s horror, 90s pop culture, punk music, and skateboarding since 2012.
Whether you have a craving for pizza or a disgust for politicians, Face Monster has unapologetic apparel that appeals to almost everyone. Physically located on the second floor of the Sunbury Station in Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
Or you can find Face Monster on Instagram at Face Monster. That's Face Monster with a 0 instead of an O. But Face Monster wants you to know that even though there's a 0 in their name, you're still number 1 for following them.
Part of this Independence Square Mall, whatever you want to call it, there is Washington Squares really close by. It's like...
These are just areas. These are like streets and like little...
Yeah, this is a park that's right next to...
When you say Independence Mall, it's like just a bunch of these
Just
buildings.
a bunch of buildings that are part of the National Park Service. So, Washington Square is one of the 4 main square parks in Philadelphia, and it's built on top of a graveyard. Mm-hmm. You know? So, in the 1700s, it used to be a potter's field, and more than 2,000 Revolutionary War soldiers are buried there.
Oh, wow.
African Americans were buried there, suicide victims, prisoners of war, smallpox victims, and a lot of the dead from the yellow fever epidemic of 1793.
Seems you find that out in a lot of like the bigger cities, especially in like the Northeast, where they have these like mass graves, and then now they're parks or part of.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, hey, at least they're using the land,
Well, at the time,
Not
in the
wasting it.
1700s, you have to imagine, like, that's not quite prime real estate.
Yeah, right.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you add 200 years and the
Yeah.
cities are growing, that becomes extremely valuable real estate.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
in
now
the
you got all
center
these
of
bodies
town.
in it.
So,
Do you say in some of the cities too, you can actually sometimes find bone fragments in the dirt?
bone fragments.
It's like I've been known to sift some dirt.
will come up out of the ground because they didn't do a great job
Yeah.
of getting the bodies out.
Right.
Always. And we were just at Center Church in New Haven,
yeah.
Connecticut.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
have the Center Green or whatever
That's
it's
what I was
called.
thinking about. Yeah.
They have the same problem where people would walk through and they'd find a human bone just sticking out of the ground. You know?
It's crazy.
I'm sure every time it rains, if you want to find human bones,
That's the time.
Just go to the parks.
Okay.
So,
Pro tip.
Yeah, a little tip from Steve right
Yeah.
there, folks.
well, you know.
Every time it rains, it's been raining a lot, Steve.
When I
been raining a lot lately.
I don't hunt for bones often, but when I do, I wait for it to rain.
So, okay. Now, the Washington Square is also haunted. There was a Quaker lady that used to guard the cemetery when she was alive. Because you have all these, it's a potter's cemetery, it wasn't well taken care of.
Potters?
Yeah, potter's cemeteries were for poor people that couldn't afford to be buried.
Sure.
they would call them a potter's field.
Interesting.
And anyone could be buried there. Like it wasn't sanctified,
Wow. Okay.
like a church grounds.
Gotcha.
So this Quaker woman felt bad that the local medical industry, if they wanted to steal a freshly buried
There you
body,
go. Yeah.
they would steal it from this spot.
Sure, it'd be easy, right?
It'd be easy because no one cared. That was the dredges of society that couldn't afford to be buried, so no one's really going to look. So Leah would watch the graves at night.
Okay.
And supposedly she still does it. She is still seen in that park. Cops have seen this woman wearing a robe and like she has no face.
Why does she have no face?
I have no idea.
Where'd the face go, Steve? Where is the face?
What's the lore?
I don't know why she doesn't have a face. She has a hood, but she is seen by policemen.
Hood. So maybe it's just hidden inside the hood.
Yeah.
She's seen by policemen?
By policemen. She's been reported by policemen. So
More than once.
more than once. So the site, the graveyard itself was laid out in 1682, and it was used as a graveyard from 1704 to 1794. And the policeman that saw her didn't know of the legend.
Oh.
So he had no idea.
I love that.
Of this. And there's also a statue of George Washington there because there's the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers for the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
Like Arlington has another Tomb of Unknown Soldiers, I think,
Right.
from World War II or something like that.
It is world. Well, I'm not sure. I don't want to
I'm not 100% on that. Someone can correct me.
Yep.
I'm sure it'll happen. But
It's inevitable.
when he saw this girl, right when the policeman noticed that she had no face, she then vanished right before his eyes.
And remind me again, what year are these policemen seeing her?
18.
This is more
18.
modern. This is like in the 1900s
Oh.
that the ghost, her ghost is
Still
seen
there.
by a
Okay.
policeman.
Okay.
So not too long ago. So now we get to Independence Hall, which is why I brought this.
What's this?
This is the floorboard
A piece of the floorboard.
from Independence Hall. It was getting worn out. So when the Founding Fathers went into Independence Hall to sign the Declaration of Independence, this is the floor they were stepping on.
Nice.
Was it called Independence Hall at that point?
Well, I mean, now it's
not.
called Independence Hall.
Now
I
it
don't
is
know.
for sure.
But
Anyway, sorry.
I bring that because it's the guy that redid the flooring in like 1911, 1915, something like that, had to rebuild the floors because the floors were getting pretty weak.
Okay.
So he took all the boards and he stored them in his basement.
Wow.
He wouldn't throw them away.
Yeah.
So when 1976 is coming up, an entrepreneur realized this is a gold mine.
Oh, yeah.
So he bought some of the boards.
Yeah.
Look at
and
it.
sliced
You got a little
them up.
baby piece.
Little tiny pieces.
I see it.
What is it, like a 1x2?
And it's very thin. But
That
It's
board.
wafer thin.
That board. That's it.
that's it. That little tiny sliver of wood.
Wow.
But
Show the camera, see if it's ridiculous.
it's ridiculously small. But how much do you think this piece of wood goes for?
7,000.
$75
Oh.
to buy one today.
You're close.
It wasn't that
Both had
expensive in
sevens in 'em.
1976. Or 1976. So Independence Hall, this is literally the epicenter.
Yeah.
This is when people see pictures. We have a picture of Independence
the
Hall I
energy.
took, which came out
energy's in there.
perfect. It's where the Declaration of Independence is signed, the U.S. Constitution were both delegated and signed here. The building itself was built in 1753. And one of my favorite stories, it's at one time, all three houses of government were housed in that building. It was everything at one point.
The executive, judicial,
Correct.
and legislative.
Nice. Nice job.
Now, my favorite story about that is Benjamin Franklin would stare at George Washington's chair.
The ghost of him would, or in real life?
No, in real life.
You're a poet and you don't know it.
Oh.
And there was a sun on the back of his chair, and here's what he says.
Oh, like like a sunshine.
Like a sun, yeah. He's like, I have often looked at the picture behind the president without being able to know that it is a rising and a not setting sun. While signing the Constitution, he has said this, that he now knows that it's a rising sun and not a setting sun.
Who knows?
Well, he's like
Benjamin Franklin.
okay.
Because he's looking at this for months and months on end, and he doesn't know, is the sun setting? Like, they're disavowing the connection to the British government. It's the ending of an era. Mm-hmm. Like, and he doesn't know that 200 years in the future, we're still going to be a country.
Yeah.
He has no idea of what the longevity of what they're doing. I mean,
so he's being poetic.
He's being very poetic.
I was going to say, it's either that or they did a lot more drugs back then than I thought.
They did do a lot of drugs.
Yeah, fair enough.
Dr. Joseph Priestley was the guy that isolates nitrous oxide. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take very long for nitrous oxide parties to be pretty popular amongst the founding fathers.
Including Mr. Ben Franklin?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I mean, Benjamin Franklin also wrote a pamphlet on flatulence and farting. Mm-hmm. And the first person he sends it to is Dr. Priestley.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Important stuff.
Do you know what instrument he created?
I do.
I'm
Franklin?
sure you do. I'll see if Ryan knows. Yeah.
Accordion.
Nope.
Harmonica.
Oh, wait.
Close.
Something like that.
It's very close. The glass harmonica.
Glass harmonica.
Yeah, he was infatuated with like the sound of, ringing your finger around the glass.
Oh, yeah.
So he invented an instrument like that. But the interesting thing is people would get dizzy from playing it. Like it was like, I think it was Mozart or Beethoven. A couple of the big composers actually did use it or like wrote some music for it. But by the 1820s, it kind of went away. People were getting dizzy when they were using it. And it's thought to be that it was because of lead paint used to like color code the notes.
There were some countries that banned its use because they thought it drove people to madness.
Oh my gosh.
And the other thing was they thought that the ethereal sounds coming from the harmonica could induce ghostly apparitions into a spot.
One of those types.
And I think Germany was one of the places that banned its use.
Really?
Like
I'm about to look more into that.
Yeah, like
you think the Nazis would be like looking into using it?
There's not many harmonica players, but you got to get my hats off to Benjamin Franklin for creating it, because it is very much like, to me, it sounds very similar to like a theremin of the 1950s.
Exactly what I was thinking.
You know, like the sci-fi horror. Mm-hmm. Like if there was a UFO coming down, I would want either a theremin or an harmonica,
right?
To be playing, to be like, adding some theme music for the aliens as they come down.
So either you like siphoned off some psychic energy there with a harmonica, or you saw my notebook.
I did not, but you never know.
Yeah, look up the history of the harmonica and ghostly activity.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it. But then we decided we have to walk back because we parked our car near Betsy Ross's house. Right. So we had to walk back there to get to the car. And on the way back, we passed the last site on our weird journey. And that is the grave of Benjamin Franklin. He's buried at Christ Church Burial Ground. He lived from 1706 to 1790. And for those that don't know who this guy is, he's a writer, scientist, inventor, statesman, diplomat, printer, publisher, philosopher, and my favorite, philanderer.
I was just going to say that. Philanderer.
A philanderer of the day. So he's buried in a pretty humble grave. But despite being a founding father, the drafter and signer of the Declaration of Independence, he wanted to be buried under a very nondescript headstone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, when we walked by, you could see that they had taken out the brickwork on that side, and they put in a gate so that people could see his grave even when the site's closed. And what's his grave covered with? Do you remember what was all over his grave?
Quarters?
Yeah, it was
pennies.
Pennies.
Yeah. And the reason is he is the originator of the quote, "A penny saved is a penny earned."
See, I was going to say pennies, but then I was like, oh, shit, no, I think maybe he's talking about John Wilkes Booth because he's covered in pennies too.
He is.
But that's a different.
But, Franklin supposedly started this. Now, in 1976, and maybe it's the hubbub of the bicentennial, a nurse is walking by that graveyard, same as we were, and she was getting pelted by pennies. As if Benjamin Franklin himself is pelting people with pennies.
Wait, what year did you say?
1976.
So couldn't it just be people driving by in their car and throwing pennies at people?
Well, yeah, but
pennies
hurt the road's on your left.
Yeah.
And if you're walking by it, the grave's on the right. So the thing is, she looked around, there's no one there.
Probably some kids playing.
And in all honesty, the guy that creates the statement, "A penny saved is a penny earned," leaving pennies at a random grave is probably going as far against his statement as you possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
You're obviously not learning anything from his wisdom.
I told you.
Pennies.
Yeah, he's like, I told you to save a penny, not leave it here.
How many pennies are sitting here?
So, I don't know. I'd like to think that Benjamin Franklin is throwing pennies at people.
That's a fun story.
Being idiots.
Yeah, and remember, Steve did warn us while we were there. He's like, just so you know, we might get pelted with pennies.
I did.
Fair warning.
Now, on the table here, I did want to show that when I go to Philadelphia or anywhere, I pick up random crap. So I definitely had to bring a piece of the brick from the old city, and I brought with something dear to the founding fathers. This is artifacts from Washington Crossing. So when the Washington's men were going to cross the Delaware, this is the stuff that they dropped.
This is all
what's in there, like
found
buttons and
just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's just mostly buttons and coins of the era.
That's cool.
But
it's a little shadow box.
Just a little tiny shadow box.
George Washington liked lotteries and raffles. Apparently, he was a big fan of those.
Fun. She was a gambler.
Yeah, right. And I also found out that John Adams had a dog named Satan.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
John Adams.
Really?
Yep.
That's kind of love that.
I know. I thought it was really neat.
I like that a lot. All right. Well, that was our trip to Philly.
That was Philadelphia.
Well, one of our trips to Philly, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Founding
in Philadelphia, there's so much history. If we wanted to do an episode, we'd actually have to do an episode on each one of these sites individually to really deep dive into the history.
Yeah, and you're not going to get into investigate most of these places. Like you're not.
Not being part of the National Park Service. Yeah. You have to be Zach Baggins to get into those.
It's pronounced Baggins.
Baggins.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I think it's Bergens. No, it's Bjergens.
That's
Zach
something
Bjergens.
different. Bjorn. Bjergen. I don't know. Anyway.
No, it's Mercury.
We ate at Old City Pizza in Philadelphia. Remember this place?
I do remember this place.
Why?
Because the guy that was working it, was he wearing was that an Iron Maiden shirt?
Oh, yeah. Was it Iron Maiden or, yeah, it was Iron Maiden.
I think it was Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
I think it was an Eddie shirt.
Pretty sweet.
And
fitting.
Very, very open, like talking to us.
Yeah, nice guy. Just super nice guy. A block away from the museum, so.
And by museum, you're at Betsy Ross House.
Yeah, so only a block away from the Betsy Ross.
So we were there early. Probably.
It was our first pizza of the day.
It had to have been our first.
Before you got all jaded,
Fresh.
The fresh pizza.
Pizza fatigue.
Morning. That's a better statement.
Morning pizza.
Morning pizza.
That sounds a little gross.
Morning pizza does not sound gross.
Yeah, like not to a guy.
Okay.
Yeah, true that. All right. Well, we like this pizza. I can tell already. Steven, 4.25 out of 5.
That's nice. A good score for me.
Yeah.
I think it's excellent. Great sauce, great pepperoni, awesome crust. Guy was super engaging with his styles and care he puts into the pizzas. Plus, he wore an Iron Maiden shirt. Also, his Italian mother seemed to be helping that day. Was she like speaking Italian? Is that how you knew she was Italian? Or you're just taking a stab?
Yeah, I would assume
she's
that
from
she
like
was
the
speaking.
motherland.
I don't pick out people's nationalities just based on their looks.
She spoke Italian to you?
Yeah, I mean, I do pick out people from New Jersey if they're wearing a Bon Jovi t-shirt, though.
True that. True that. You know. Christy, 4.0 out of 5. So
Not
nice score
bad.
for you. That's a good score.
Yeah.
Great crust, nice and crispy edges, golden brown cook, great taste on the pepperoni, and sauce was okay.
Yeah, great. I mean, if I'm not even mentioning a napkin, there was probably not much grease at all.
Yeah,
which is
4.0
always
means probably no grease.
positive. Yeah, so
Well,
great
I don't-
review. It was a great place.
4.0 for you is
That's pretty
rare.
high. Yeah.
That's pretty high. That's a higher one. For
Yep.
her. Me, also 4.0 out of 5. Buttery crust and tasty sauce. Cheese had a nice mix of flavors. The place was unassuming, and I'm really glad we stopped, is what I said. So Old City Pizza in Philadelphia, we're giving it a definite, I'd say I haunt that place. What do you guys say?
I would totally haunt it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd haunt it.
And to think that we didn't actually look this up at all. We just were like, hey, this
What's
pizza's
close?
the closest place.
Right.
Love it when we luck out like that.
And-
Because that doesn't always happen.
And it doesn't always work out to our advantage when it
No.
happens.
Not usually.
But this day it did. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so Old City Pizza, great job. Go check them out when you're in Philadelphia. Please like, subscribe, hit us up on social media, whatever you do.
Yep. Check out Cup of Code too.
Thanks to Cup of Code for helping us out.
Yeah. Any comments you guys have? Any stories about Philadelphia? If you guys, live there and something weird happened to you, please leave comments. It all really helps a lot.
For sure. Personal experiences, we love to hear that stuff.
Yep. And anybody else have anything to say?
You're
No?
good.
No.
All right, man. Everybody join us next time you crave a slice of the paranormal.
That's right.
This podcast was produced by Stone State Entertainment.